Alexandra and I will be having the conversation, but I have the questions that you've submitted ahead of time. And any questions that you think of as we're going along, please do submit via the chat function. If you can see there, Alexandra just kindly shared her email with you all. So if you have any follow-up questions, think of something later on, jot down her email and feel free to reach out and you can connect with her yourself. So without further ado, Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. So Alexandra is a 2019 SBLC grad. You graduated with a BFA from the Ailey School, is that right?
Yes.
Awesome. And you are now pursuing a Master's of Communications from Johns Hopkins. I know you're an actress, a dancer, a model, doing so much. I don't know how you have time to do all of this at once, but we are thrilled to have you here today. And just to jump right in, do you mind telling us maybe a little bit about your background? I think there's probably a lot to go through there, so maybe starting with kind of Fordham until now, if you can kind of work through that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you to everyone who's joining in. I really appreciate it. And I did put my email in the chat in case there's follow-up questions or if anyone wants to kind of reach out or connect or just to say hi. I'm open to that. I was actually a transfer student to Fordham Lincoln Center in January of 2017, which feels like a lifetime ago. Especially, seeing all the differences now in everyday life. But I was a mid-year transfer and I loved my experience at Fordham. I had so much coursework and so many opportunities outside of the classroom, in the professional aspect of the world. I didn't get to partake in too many clubs and things, but one that I was involved with a lot was the Splinter group, their musical theater program at Lincoln Center. And I also got to volunteer quite a bit between Fordham and Ailey's events.
That's awesome.
So that was really great. I did get my BFA last year, just last May. And ever since, I'll be honest with you, I've been able to really network, and I've been so blessed to be able to still stay, and to continue with things like this and just trying to stay in touch with Fordham, which has been wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know that you've already been involved in a lot, performing with the Rockettes, acting a bunch. How did some of that stuff come about? Was that while you were at Fordham, in the short couple months since, the year since? How did that all come?
Yeah, I started from the moment I walked into Fordham. For whatever reason, everything became about networking, whether or not I realized it or was really going out there for it. It just kind of was a fact of the matter. And so, I ended up somehow or another, going through different castings, and one person would know the other person who knew the other person. And soon enough, I just found myself with a lot of work opportunities that I wasn't even really looking for, so when I was at—
Good problem to have.
Yeah. My biggest problem, I think, was I hated having to pick, what to do. And that was really lucky that I had great advisors who were able to kind of help me navigate this vehicle here, because school, of course, was my number one priority, but that outside the classroom experience is really important as well, just to kind of supplement what you're learning in class. And so I was able to perform Off-Broadway in a small show called Savage Force when I want to say I was just finishing sophomore year, going into junior year of college. So that was amazing. And then from there, I had a few smaller, personal assistant, working with different choreographers, things like that. And then the opportunity came just very shortly after graduating to join as a regular with the TV show FBI on CBS. And so I was doing that every episode. And then kind of in the middle of that, I ended up getting my foot in with Radio City Music Hall. And so I didn't perform with them, but I ended up working through a company called Theater Mama, which is actually an experiential marketing company, kind of right up my alley with this marketing degree I'm going for. Mm-hmm. And from there, I was able to work with security and guest services, and we had a great time. I saw so many people from Fordham and Ailey going through, and you know, we just kind of made the outdoor experience going into the music hall. Like I was in charge of all these candy cane costumed people, spreading some holiday cheer. So that was a really great job to have, and I was a manager there.
Awesome, awesome. So I think to dive into some of the student questions, which, you know, as you can imagine, some about acting, some about dancing, the first of which is, what resources did you use to find auditions or opportunities in the city? And this one was submitted by Nantana.
Hi, so I think the first step I sort of took, I didn't have much direction before coming to Fordham. Like coming from compared to the city, a smaller town, about 2.5 hours away or so, I didn't, let's just say I didn't really have all the connections when I first came to Fordham. And so a lot of it was just going off of, you know, like, let's try this and see what sticks. And then after that, then going back and talking with teachers. But I had started kind of thinking, you know, the agency route, like, let's go get an agent. And I thought that you needed that, and you don't. You know, it's something that's helpful, but you don't necessarily need that in order to have a career or anything like that. And so I went down that route, for better or worse. And then I ended up really lucking out. I went on backstage.com. I think that it's like $100 for a year subscription or something like that. They had some good stuff. You just have to be a little bit careful with the online submissions, though, I will say. But they had some good stuff, and that's kind of how I ended up doing. I got like 3 auditions at once through there.
Oh, wow.
About a year before I graduated. Yeah, and I ended up booking them all. And one was Sketch of New York, which it's like a comedy sketch show in Midtown. That was a blast. I never did anything like it before, but I said, why not? You know, we'll get used to public speaking, and this will be great. So I did that. And then I got involved with a feature film that ended up being 2.5 hours. It was released to AMC, and I actually filmed that my entire senior year.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a thriller film, and that was really interesting. So I definitely have to thank Backstage for that, because that's kind of how I got my foot in the door with those. And then ever since, I've been using castingnetworks.com a lot.
Okay.
That's the only site. That's one of the only sites I would say. I didn't have to pay because I had an agent at the time, but I think it's $25 or something like that. And now I pay for extra photos and, you know, media and things, just so I can show myself in, you know, more ways than one. But I think just making sure that all of the sources that you use are very credible, you know, and of course, making sure if something seems a little bit too good to be true, you know, really background check, I think would be what I would just say, especially for the things online, because, you know, there are ways that people, you know, kind of word things that are sometimes a little bit different. But those opportunities sort of catapulted me, and casting networks I use to this day to get TV jobs. And Central Casting was another one. That one, you have to go and register. It's a little bit more difficult. You have to go through a process with IDs and whatnot, but they're also really great.
Awesome. So lots of different avenues that you're pursuing here.
Definitely.
That's great. Yeah, casting a wide net. So one of the things you mentioned when you were kind of giving your background, and I think alluded to a little bit here, is the idea of networking. So how important has networking been for your career, and how have you gone about cultivating that network?
Networking has been instrumental in so many ways. I think the first real concept I had of that too was, you know, going through the audition process in dance and just seeing how it transfers to every career path is really interesting to me. But,
yeah,
you know, I think the most important thing to remember is every time that you step out and you present yourself, and this isn't to make anyone nervous, it's just fact of the matter, you might meet someone and they might have a job opportunity, or they might know somebody. And what started to happen in this little world of Fordham University and Alvin, Ailey, was people would come up to me and say, oh, hi, Alex, you know, this and that. I didn't know who they were, but I certainly found out who they were. And, you know, that was kind of how I got the start of really developing this close-knit connection. To this day, I still keep in touch with some of the professors and the teachers.
That's great.
And I think that it not only allows you to potentially get a job, but you can still use those people as a resource. And a lot of them are just very open and willing to do that, you know, even if you're not necessarily looking for their exact job or, you know, something that they can help you to get, they can still teach you things that will help you to prepare for the interview or to understand, you know, you have transferable skills here. Just because you're going for an arts degree doesn't mean that you're not learning discipline and time management skills and things that you can use in another degree need be, especially in a time like now where, you know, everything's constantly juggling.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And is being that open and looking to create a network, is that something that came naturally to you, or did you really have to push yourself to kind of be more about personality?
I definitely had to push myself. I'm like a completely different person now than I was at Fordham. So like for, you know, because I was a mid-year transfer and I was actually the first mid-year transfer ever to the dance program. So they were, you know, trying to figure out, you know, how do we make this work? Because I was ahead academically, but I was behind like dance credit wise the way it worked out. But all my credits transferred. I was really lucky.
That's great.
But, you know, I think one of the most crucial things that I learned at Fordham was you need to learn how to speak up and to project your voice. And especially now I'm finding myself with the mask situation. If you don't project your voice, nobody will hear you. And so I think that, you know, especially if you're kind of a more quiet person, get used to just going up to people, just saying hi. You don't have to say much more, you know, how are you? Just small talk, you know. And even on LinkedIn, a lot of times now I've been finding myself, I'll go on and if I see someone graduated or I'm, you know, through the feed, I'll reach out and I'll say, hi, you know, I hope that you're safe and healthy, you know, just wanted to connect. And some of those conversations actually have now developed into job interviews for me. So, you know, even if you don't know who people are, don't be afraid because a lot of people, you know, if you just ask very authentic questions, you know, you're not interviewing them. That's like a big thing to remember. You'll scare them away. You know, if you're just authentic, you know, people are willing to share a lot of information and insight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. We talk about that a lot with students in career services and how there's really no downside to reaching out, right? Worst that can happen is somebody doesn't respond. And if so, so what? You know, then you reach out to the next person. So I think that that's an awesome point. So shifting gears a little bit to your current degree, question from Margot is, why did you decide to pursue a communications degree and how has it informed your creative work?
Okay, so I will say the way that this communications degree started was actually right in the dean's office. So I went, all the seniors have to do, I forget what they call it, but it's like, they check to make sure you're on track to graduate in the beginning of the year. Yeah. And so I had gone into Dean Gregoire's office actually. And, you know, we just went through things, you know, and she just turns around to me and she says, so why aren't you going to apply to a graduate school? And at the time, you know, I thought about it a little bit and, you know, I was looking at maybe going for an MFA in dance and not all the programs were offering for you to start like as, you know, soon as I had graduated, and also a lot of them wanted like, you know, more years of professional experience and different things. And I just kind of knew to myself that if I stopped, I wasn't going back. That was just a personal thing.
I hear that a lot. That's understandable.
I love learning and I love school. I just knew eventually I would come up with excuses or, you know, this Broadway show or, you know, there was going to be a reason why.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then after a while, I just thought I'd become intimidated by it too much. So she said, you know, just think about it. You know, you don't have to, but just think about it. And that kind of like planted this seed. And so I went online and I said, I'm going to apply to one graduate school and one only. And if I get in,
so it's meant to be.
And I ended up choosing a school, which I thought was a reach school. I really I was not thinking I was getting it at all. And so kind of my point in saying this is actually the interview asked me precisely what this question asked, which is why a communications degree? Like you have a degree in dance. And the way I saw it was communications is very broad and you can use it in anything, but also when you think about dance, dance is a form of communication, and same with every art form in its own perspective way. But, you know, it's usually, you know, a pretty silent art form. And I wanted to kind of investigate and to learn about how can we communicate on different levels, because dance, you can communicate kind of through the soul to people who don't even speak the same language as you, you know, all these different things. But how can we do that now digitally, or how can we do it, you know, and all across different mediums? And so I ended up being accepted to Johns Hopkins. And so then I had a conversation with them and I said, you know, about the dance thing. I have some great opportunities here. You know, I know that you do some stuff online. Is it even possible to do the full degree online? And it turned out that that was kind of how the program was built. So all the classes, like there's more classes online than on campus actually. Okay. And so I could log in at any time, and they said, you know, if you need extra time, if you get a great job and, you know, you need to take time off, that's fine. Just keep us in the loop, you know, good luck. And so I started like that week of graduation. And I think it's informed artistic work because I'm just thinking about things at a different level. So even, you know, as an actor, performer, you know, if I deliver something with this tone of voice, what does that mean? Like, how is somebody else going to read it? To me, it might seem innocent. To somebody else, they might see it, you know, due to just living different experiences, it's like a harsh thing. So I think just learning about delivery and, you know, how can we best communicate to people?
Awesome. Good for you. That is quite the endeavor. And speaking of transitions really well into our next question from Ari is, how do you make time to pursue the MA and still go to your modeling jobs and your acting auditions? And so, you know, understanding that the program is online still, how do you juggle all of this?
It's a lot, you know,
Sure.
I did ask my Fordham advisors, I said, you know, what do you think of this? Like part-time, full-time? For my particular program, part-time is 2 classes or less, and full-time is 3 classes to 4 classes. And so they were like, well, like you just did, I was doing like 29 credits a semester at Fordham to finish on time. I was really doing it. And summers and everything. So, cause I just was like, I'm going to graduate on time. So they're like, well, you could handle the 4, but I decided I'm just going to do part-time. So I did 2.
Okay.
So I have 3 more classes left. So I could graduate in December if I really wanted. So a year and a half out.
Awesome.
But, you know, it's all about time management. For me, like, I know for a fact, usually homework is due Saturday and Tuesday. So if I'm able to do it in advance, great. Usually that doesn't end up happening too far in advance, if I'm being honest. But I really try and always, if I'm sitting and doing nothing, whether it's on a subway, I'll listen to like positive audios or read a book. Or if I'm on set and, you know, I just got changed through wardrobe and they have a lot of like lunch break, snack break, every type of food break, you know, I'll pull out my phone, you know, and I'll have all the questions written out and, you know, I'll just try and type it, you know, and it's not the easiest thing in the world, but once you kind of get used to it, it gets a lot better. And sometimes even I bring, you know, a tablet or my laptop and just kind of do schoolwork that way, you know. But I think for everyone, it's a little bit different. Like if you have to be at a desk doing something, it might be a little bit more tricky. For me, I got really used to doing everything on the fly, on the go, because I was already doing that in the studio, you know, doing my homework between a rehearsal or different things. And so I think just juggling it and knowing your limits for sure is really important with it.
Absolutely. I'm self-care right now, especially so important. And speaking of kind of the current situation, how has that impacted your career path, your future plans? And I'm also wondering, just as we're talking, has this situation and how it's impacted, you know, the theater, the dance industry, maybe made you so glad that you now are kind of broadening your horizons even more with a degree in a different area?
Yeah, you know, I've been thinking about this a lot. I know you kind of sent me, you know, a couple questions, and this was the one where I was like kind of stuck on, I'll be honest. So I think the way I went into this pandemic, so I got like a message. This was the night before I was supposed to be on. I just got off a set. I was supposed to be on another set. That week before the pandemic, I was filming like everywhere. It was like I was on a tour. First I was in the city, then I was upstate and God knows where. Then, you know, it was like they just were bringing us all over. And so I had gotten a message from the casting, and it said, we don't have call times for tomorrow. We'll have them, in another hour. Okay, wait an hour. Then that happened again. And I'm like, something's up, and just, I kind of felt like for a while something was up. And so I had actually applied for a few like extra positions in case, and I was smart. I just felt like there was something like in the air.
Right.
I didn't know what though. And I, it ended up like it was going throughout the night. The casting director's like, we'll have times for you soon, like whenever you're supposed to report into work. And so finally I texted somebody on the show, that I'd known, and I said, what is going on? Like, this never happens. And so we ended up getting our call times like an hour before we had to get there. This was like, I don't know, like 9 o'clock in the morning. We never had such a late call time. And we got there and they're like, so, we don't really have like the script completely put together. That's why you didn't get your call times, but we have to finish the season early, like today, because of the pandemic.
Oh my gosh.
So as you can imagine, I guess from the viewer perspective, there's a lot less episodes in a lot of TV shows this season. For us, we finished, usually it's about 9 days for a TV episode to be made. Usually, you have 9 days. For this, we had 1 day to finish it and make it look cohesive. In between people being scared and all this. And so that was kind of the way I started. And from that point, I said, we don't know if we have another season yet, but we know that we're not working the rest of this season, most likely. So I said, I'm going to make like a plan here, kind of turn this pandemic thing into like a plandemic, and just strategically do this and try and just stay calm, exactly what they teach you, don't panic in an emergency. And a lot of people were like really freaking out, and rightfully so. So, I got, all the supplies like everybody, but I started applying to jobs. I went on a 10-mile walk in a suit, just handing out resumes like up and down the street.
Oh
and
my gosh.
A few places like let me make a pitch too, because I really wasn't particular. I just knew I was going to need a job.
And what kind of jobs were you applying for?
I'll be honest, everything. I guess that there was some form of panic in me, but I had interest in a lot of areas. So on the computer, I did the more professional jobs. I've done legal assisting before, stuff like that. But, I went and did the restaurant thing, and a lot of them, they told me, you don't have like a license to do this and you have no experience to do this. And I was like, wow, like, okay, it was a humbling moment. And, but there was 1 or 2 managers and they let me make a pitch to them. And they thought it was great that, seeing as I could act as, a waitress on TV and fool people, that, like you'll fit right in here. So
sure.
Almost got hired the day after all those places closed down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was onboarded for a job working with epidemics in the city. Because in the meantime, with Johns Hopkins, I was able to get a specialization in epidemiology. So I did that. I was like, this might come in handy having some of this knowledge.
Oh my gosh.
And so then they didn't start me for that job. So I've kind of been in this cycle of just learning. But what it's taught me is to really like kind of open up the feelers and just to see what's happening. And there's so many amazing things happening in the dance and performing arts world right now, between virtual performances and all of that. So it's affected work. It has. I'm not going to stand here and say work hasn't been affected, because it definitely has been. And now being a member of the union, there's all sorts of really creative ways that they're, thinking about trying to bring people back, and all this. But
that's great.
kind of amongst it, it just seems like there's a big sense of community, not even just with people in the arts, but with other people whose line of work, might have been changed or different things. So I definitely am grateful that I'm going for the communications degree. But I think I was grateful before that for it. I think no matter what, I knew my Fordham degree, whether it was in dance and biology, whatever it was going to be, and it was going to support me. And so I didn't have like a tremendous amount of fear, because I knew if I can convince Johns Hopkins, to let a dance major go into communications, almost like a shift in, what I was studying, that I could kind of use all the skills I learned, within the program to just fuel me and to get me into more positions.
Yeah, and I think too, just listening to you talk this through, big takeaways on my end are like your resourcefulness, and realizing, you know, I will find something, but I need to go out there and grind and broaden my the scope of the types of opportunities I'm looking at, and feeling confident that you would be successful in that, and using those transferable skills that you talked about at the beginning to see how those could pivot. Like you were saying, you know, the acting can be used in the restaurant, you know, all these different things, and how you can put them together in meaningful ways to work for you in whatever the situation is. So that's really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I think one important thing to remember, at least I don't know if people on here are in entertainment, or, you know, how this can relate to your personal lives, but I think one thing that's really important to remember is, especially being in the city and in New York and, you know, all of that, and in today's day and age, everybody thinks everything has to be so immediate. Like, you have to text me back right away. You have to answer this email right away. You have to, you know, just like book gigs like left and right. And yes, the hustle is very important. And I will never say it's not, because I know daily, like being a freelancer, you know, I have to be on top of my things. I have to have my pictures, you know, and all of that. Mm-hmm. But I think it's also important to remember it's okay to take a day off. It is okay to say, okay, I need to step back, see what's actually happening here, and to make an educated decision as opposed to an emotional one. And I think that that's something that really came to light during this for me was, okay, I might not be able to do the acting and dancing the way I would like to, but how can I do it right now in a way that'll satisfy me? And how can I also support myself, you know, in a fashion at this point in time? It doesn't mean, you know, I'm going to make a career change forever. It doesn't mean I'm making a full career change. You know, there might just be something else that, you know, I do in addition right now, just to keep things flowing, and to allow me to be able to do that arts career at the same time.
Absolutely. So what is next for you? You know what, assuming things kind of right size, what you have, you're going to have this degree soon, you've got acting, you've got dancing. What do you see yourself doing long term?
That's a really good question, you know, and every time I'm asked it, I give a different answer. So I think right now,
I will compare notes with all the other people.
Yeah, I think right now, where my head is at, I love performing. I still intend to do it full-heartedly. I had some great potential opportunities to travel as an entertainer, not even specific to acting or dance, but, you know, to go and to speak to people. Mm-hmm. And so that's something I'm hoping, you know, post-pandemic, when we can fly around and do things like that, that I will have the opportunity to do that again. I'm really hoping to finish my master's, obviously. I just got a security license. So
congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah. So right now I'm kind of in the land of, I will perform definitely in some capacity. And until then, you know, I might consider going and maybe doing something in helping people, like an intelligence route or something of that nature. I always like helping people. So yeah. I'm kind of looking for a way to do both at this point.
Wow. There is no end to your curiosity. That is absolutely amazing. So impressed with your background and your plans for the future. This has just been a very cool, unique path. So thank you so much for sharing this with us today.
Of course.
Well, that has flown by, but we're out of time now. So I just wanted to again say thank you. You have so kindly shared your email with the group. That's Berti. Am I pronouncing your last name right? Berti?
Berti. It's okay.
Berti.
Yeah.
ABERTI@fordham.edu. So anyone that has follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to Alexandra. And thank you again so much. I wish you the best of luck. And truly, I am very excited to hear about you down the line and learn about all the cool things that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me, and to everyone who's listening. And I hope everyone's very safe and healthy.
Yes, thank you. You too. And we will talk soon. Bye, Alexandra. Thanks.
Bye.